Assalamu alaikum and welcome to City Sisters, your brand new women's lifestyle show on Islam Channel. Today is our second show of the series and we'll be discussing subjects that are relevant to Muslim sisters in various aspects of their lives. Before I tell you what's on today's show, let me first introduce you to the sisters who are joining me today. First, we have Sister Aisha, who always keeps us smiling.
Assalamu alaikum.
Then we have Sister Hadiya, our mum of three and wardrobe advisor.
Assalamu alaikum.
And next, we have Sister Samina, who lets us all know that we can get back to studying at any age.
Assalamu alaikum.
And not with us today is Sister Habiba, who's softly spoken but hard to forget. And I am Sayyida, and my passion is to make a genuine difference in the lives of others. So about this week's show, we will be talking about how to find a marriage partner in our chit-chat section. So all of you single sisters, stay tuned. Next, we'll be visiting Green Street in the first of our two-part close-up sections for some valuable tips on how to shop for that bride and groom for the all-important big day. And then, Sister Sakina will be taking us to meet another wonderful artist, Sister Karima bin Daud, in the Creative Soul section. So let's get on with some chit-chat. Today we have a subject that is of interest to most of us out there, and that is how to go about finding a suitable marriage partner. This subject isn't just of interest to all the single sisters out there, but I'm sure that your friends and families would be interested too. So if you are married, stay tuned as you may get some ideas on how to help that someone else, someone special in your life, maybe your daughter, sister, or a good friend. As a life coach myself, I have worked with several sisters who are looking for their ideal husband. It is very important to first explore who you are as an individual and to know what you want so that you will recognize it when you see it in that other person. Perhaps you are really clear about what you want but haven't found that someone who meets that criteria. Perhaps you have been looking for some time and are just feeling a little bit annoyed or frustrated maybe. Feel like giving up? Perhaps you need some inspiration or ideas. Well, hopefully we can add some inspiration and some fun to this somewhat challenging subject. Let's see what our wonderful team here have to say. So, sisters, finding that right marriage partner can make such a difference to our lives, can't it? So, let's start with you, Sister Hadiya. What do you think? I mean, a lot of people out there believe in the concept of soulmates, as in there's only that one right person for you out there. What's your view on that?
Well, I'd say that I found my soulmate, so I'm going to be biased on that.
Alhamdulillah.
There is maybe a soulmate for someone out there, for people out there, but I don't think at the same time you should be very like, oh, he has to come from this place, have this colour hair, and rule things out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe be more open, because at the end of the day, you never know who you're going to get on with.
Mm-hmm.
You never know where this person can come from. You shouldn't rule things out. I do believe that. And the other thing I want to say is that the idea that you can sometimes know from the first few meetings whether you're going to get on with that person, if not the first.
It's
a
that
bit
gut
overly
instinct.
romantic, I know, but alhamdulillah.
It's that gut instinct that you're talking about, and it's really wonderful that you touched on something, which is, you don't know where that person is going to come from, because a lot of people have an idea that people are going to look at like a certain package, height and looks and all of that. But I think it's more important to look for values, look at what's more important deep down, and look for piety and taqwa, and see if you're actually wanting similar things in life. That's really important. So let's talk about something else, which is also really important, because we need to talk about culture, and it's difficult to sometimes find a compromise between, the Islamic culture and this fast-moving secular life. So let's talk about that, because what do you think, Sister Aisha, that really sisters should be looking for?
We're living in two worlds, basically. We're living in two worlds, the Islamic life and the Western life. And inshallah, we need a partner who can balance that with you. Inshallah, we need a husband who is very high in his deen. So as Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that, there are 4 qualities that you normally look in a person, and that is piety, looks, status, and wealth. Mm-hmm. And inshallah, the first and foremost should be his piety and his deen.
Which you seem to be mentioning upon is quite important, is because you're talking about deen and dunya together.
Exactly.
It's really important to combine deen and dunya at the same time, isn't it?
But you have to remember as well is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, the harmony between husband and wife. The man has certain qualities that a woman doesn't have, and
They
vice
complement
versa.
each other.
They complement each other. So this whole system, this whole life system actually is between husband and wife, which is good.
Well, we're supposed to be companions of each other. We're not meant to be by ourselves, are we? We're created to be, we are social creatures, and we're created in pairs, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned. But then there's another important aspect about, well, where do we actually look for them? I mean, that seems to be a real issue nowadays. I mean, you want it. So let's talk about that. I mean, Sister Samina, what do you think? What do you think are the options out there? Where can we look?
Well, I think in this day and age, this is a tricky one. And,
Definitely.
Ideally, I think it would just be amazing to meet someone that you click with, you find that you get on, both in deen and dunya matters. You get married and live happily ever after, but I guess that doesn't happen for all of us, so sometimes we do need to make our efforts. Inshallah, I think, first and foremost, it's really important to speak to family and friends for any potential suitors. It's always good if there's some kind of a link between you and any potential partner.
We can talk about family some more, but what would you suggest? Like, if an individual is looking, where do you think they can go? Because nowadays it's the age of the internet, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's been gaining popularity for the last few years. And, there's quite a few websites which have gained, even national coverage on the TV and newspapers and the like.
It's becoming much more acceptable now.
Definitely. I mean, I think everyone's on the internet. And for people who don't have that family and friend kind of community thing to fall back on, it's quite good. But, a word of caution, I will say that, if you do go through these avenues, then I think it's really important to sort of research people very thoroughly.
Yeah, so let's
do your homework,
yeah.
Definitely.
And that's really important. And Sister Hadia, I'd like to ask you, what do you think? Should we get families involved?
Oh my gosh, definitely. Because they're the ones who are going to care about you the most, I'd say, and your friends and who know you. So I like to call myself a matchmaker as well. I've got a few marriages, alhamdulillah.
So how would you recommend that actually, sisters speak to their families? How would you recommend that they broach the subject and what they say?
I know it can be a bit embarrassing, I suppose, but if you've got your mum there to help you out, or a bit older sisters, then
that makes
they
it
can
easier,
take over, and friends can really get involved. But I'd also definitely say, let your family know what it is that you're looking for. Yeah,
it's so important too, because sometimes there's a heart's desire that you have that only you know, because you grow as an individual, and our families see different aspects of us than we see of ourselves, and that's really important. So let's look at what it takes to be ready, for marriage. So what do you think, Sister Aisha, that what do you think it takes to actually be ready for marriage? Is it just about being a certain age, or is there something else?
I think it's a bit of both. However, I think psychologically you've got to prepare yourself, inshallah. We know, from early on in life that getting married is half of your deen. And especially when you're a little child, especially little girls, you see them carrying little baby dolls and acting all mumsy. So it's a very innate thing that we are, we need to get married, basically.
Well, we learn from our role models, don't we? Because that's what we see. And, it's also really important to touch on one more subject, I think, before we go. And that's, for all those sisters out there who've been married, what would you say, Sister Samina, to those who've been married but who've gotten divorced? What's there for them? Is there any hope?
That dreaded D word.
SubhanAllah.
It's really sad that it's a law that it's something that's permissible in Islam. It's the least permissible thing, but it's there for a reason. And sadly, the stigma that's attached to it, it's all cultural. It's not Islamic. But I'd have to say to those sisters, there is hope. Life does not end at divorce. We have to remember that life is a test, and that we are tested throughout our lives. And some people, they're tested within their marriages, and some when their marriages end.
And it's a bit of both. I mean, sometimes their test starts in their marriage.
Absolutely.
And that's what forces them to end it. And it's not something that somebody would take lightly at any point in time. But it is important to remember that one thing is spirituality, and then another thing is culture. So we sometimes get caught in that cultural divide, which is really important.
It's not all doom and gloom, though. We should always look at the blessing in any situation as well. And I think it would be a good idea for any sisters going through this to actually, focus on another aspect of your life. Maybe you can better yourself, or, do something to help the community and raise your status with Allah, so that when you do get around to finding the right person, inshallah, you've got so much more to offer.
Inshallah. That's really, really good advice. Thank you for that.